studio since 1981 and spent a year with a few other artists creating the studios. I happened to live in Waltham and heard that there was an empty space here. I came up and looked at it with my son, and I looked at the windows. It was just posts, and I realized it would be great studios. And we talked to the landlord, who said, make a diagram and tell me how much space I have. Fortunately, one of the artists was an engineer, and he could draw a diagram. And the landlord said, okay, see if you can find artists. That's really when the fun began. The first 6 artists had to put up several $1,000s, and that made them somehow nervous. And we used to have meetings at my house, and there was lots of arguments. But eventually we found 6 artists who would pay for the walls, and we hired a company that built the walls. Fortunately, we got it together and then needed a few more artists, and our first open studios was for 4 days, which was a lot of work, but many people came. We decided that we should call it Artist West because we were west of Boston, and we are on the 2nd floor of the Gordon Arts Center. And now there are even artists on the 1st floor. So I'm really grateful that we have a stable situation here.
They'll be watching this, right? I've seen Artist West change a lot. We've all become a little less young, in years anyway, because we have some live in and some non-live in. It creates different needs for everyone to accommodate to. And so in doing that, we have a much better community, I feel, than if it were all live in or all non-live in. So there's a helpfulness about the community here in Artists West that's extraordinary.
Artists spend a lot of time on their own. Also with the pandemic, I was like, people are like, are you doing okay? Are you going crazy? I'm like, this is a perfect time to be an introverted artist. So everyone respects each other's space, but even if you're an introverted artist, it's important to have connection and community. And I really appreciate the people on this floor. Yeah, good.
Me too. So as I adapt to the space, I'm starting to find some of the brick color, the black lines that are in my studio. I'm starting to see those come into my paintings. I love lines and repeating lines, like these pipes up here and the beams, dots on the ceiling. I have a feeling they'll show up in my paintings. They'll make their way in.
A community of artists is much better than artists just working totally alone. And I did that until 1980. So communities are much better, and that's what we have.
What do you call the first floor here? Do you just say?
The 1st floor. We don't, like it's not Artist West or River Street. It doesn't have a name like that. You know, it was developed a lot later than the other floors, so I think it's maybe 15 years old. So there are 3 businesses: a landscape architect, a costume company, and a videographer, documentary maker. And then there's more artists now, so there's 2 more artists who moved down here. And then there's a blacksmith. I like the variety, and on Open Studios, the costume company always opens, and she always has these amazing costumes out.
I've been here for the past 5 or 6 years. I was on the 3rd floor before that, and very different vibe here. It's the spaces are more closed off, like we have a door and walls that go all the way up, so you're definitely in your own space. We're more like individual artists who are neighbors. Sometimes I go down to the costume company and ask her, the owner, if she has a piece that I'm thinking of to use in my drawings. And in more instances than not, she does, and she generously lets me borrow it to work from.
And I don't know, it's variety. You know, sometimes talking to other artists gets like
Intense.
artsy. I didn't get trained in art. I'm an adult on-set artist. And so I didn't come up, you know, sort of thinking of myself as an artist and talking about art and learning about art. So it's really nice to be part of a community where there are lots of people like that who came up and went to art school and such. And there are people more like me who, you know, kind of came to art in various ways. And I like being part of a community. And even just knowing a lot of artists and following them on Instagram and watching what they post, when they don't post their paintings or their work necessarily, but pictures of outside, or it's very enriching.
The artist's eye.
Yes.
That's great.
So Building 18, as I understand it, was started a few years after they had established some of the studios in Building 4. So before these buildings were housing and art studios and garages, and they were originally built as a textile mill. And this was the original Francis Cabot Lowell mill from the 1810s. 1813 was when it started. This was actually the first corporation in America, was this complex. Over time, the textile mills went down south, and then these buildings kind of got turned over to various different industries over the years. I know in 18 there was a door and sash company. There was a bowling alley on the second floor. Now it's all artists and craftsmen that are here. What I have here is it's an insurance map from 1922. Here's Building 4. Here's Building 18.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the bridge that used to connect Building 4 to 18. The railroad, but it used to come all the way down here and all the way to Moody Street, whereas now it ends right at Building 4. And word has it that the residents of the condominiums in Building 15 behind us, they have written in their condominium contract that they shall have access to that spur line, that railroad line. That's written in their contract. So you can't remove that railroad tracks because they would get upset. Building 18 was once a bowling alley, and on the floor here, one of the artists took the old image and cut it in vinyl and put it in the floor as an homage to the bowling alley. Word has it that Babe Ruth actually used to bowl here because his wife was from Weston. The bowling alley had no automatic pin setters. They had what they called, kids would set the pins up. They were pin monkeys. Mm-hmm. And when they would go out and set the pins, then the bowlers, with the rambunctious bowlers, would try and hit the pin monkeys, instead of hitting the pins. According to my map, where the packing and shipping used to happen, when it was a bowling alley, the what is now electric meters, that was where the snack bar was. And that was according to my father. Said that the snack bar used to be in that corner.
Did your dad bowl here?
My dad did bowl here, yeah. When
Wow.
he was probably 5 years old, He remembered where the snack bar was. This is the old bowling alley floor here. You can see the strips of maple where the alleys are, which would be the narrow strips. They're actually the boards laid on edge, and then this would be where the gutter balls are. Down this hallway would be on the left is a filmmaker, AGX Studios, that participates in Open Studios. And this is Mike Ostrowski. He has one of his studios is in here, where he does his painting and photography of art and stuff. There isn't necessarily a common area unless you count the bathroom, which wouldn't be a very good social place to be, but that's not so much on this floor. On the floor upstairs, where there's more people, concentration of people, have a common area.
I've been here a very long time. And started in this building in 2001. I like the Millennium Falcon-like character of this building because it feels kind of slapped together and you have to kick it to make it work, but it does great things, and it's a little like room 237 as well, in which you really don't know what to expect behind every shower curtain.
18 has always been considered sort of a more loose vibe, less stringent on standards of art or how art is defined. We all here at Building 18 that participate in Open Studios will really miss it this year. I always enjoy the conversation, the surprises that people show up, and it's always different. It always excels my expectations for what happens. And hopefully next year we'll be able to do it again.
Welcome to River Street. River Street is a group of about 24 artists, and our spaces are, the wall does not go all the way up to the top, so they're somewhat open, we could say open air, but they are still very private, and it's a wonderful place to work. But we also, it's a wonderful place to meet some great artists, some wonderful artists. We're kind of quiet in our space when we're working, so we don't disturb each other. But our landing is a wonderful place to just kind of relax and talk, as a way to just socialize and talk about art.
Feel like I have friends here, and Sometimes someone will ask me to look at their pieces, and sometimes I'll ask somebody to come and look at mine, and it's always nice.
We all have different rhythms, and our mediums and our disciplines are quite diverse, and I think it opens up a lot. You know, it opens up a lot of ideas when you're seeing some work that is much different than your own.
And over here we have Nina Bellucci's pieces. So there's two spaces here. One is Nina's, and then Stacy Lewinsky. It's a beautiful woven piece here.
I've formed some really great friendships and artships with a few people on the floor. When we all come together, there is such a sense of community, and I think there's a caring on this floor that, you know, we're sort of all in it together.
Well, I would say the benefit is just having, you know, being together with a lot of other artists who are very serious about their work, and not being interrupted, having your space where nothing interrupts you. So that's great. So I've been here for quite a while, about 20 years. At that time, my kids were still young, and I just wanted a space just for art. But when I walked in the building, and it was somewhat random, there were all these plants on this floor, and the combination of this old mill building that was a little bit industrial, but then the plants that made it very personal. Just, I was like, wow, this is where I'm going to be. We have a lot of really strong artists on this floor, and because a lot of people are doing really wonderful work, that makes me try harder and push myself.